Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network. For the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews, press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. In a world where action movies are constantly exploding at the box office, our heroes take on the monumental task of dissecting and analyzing all aspects of action movies to truly understand what it takes to make a great action film. Ben Bateman, Andrew Ghai, in a Popcorn Talk Network exclusive. This is Action Movie Anatomy.
Boom! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show! Welcome to Action Movie Anatomy on the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network dedicated to talking movies and all things movie related. I'm your host, Ben Bateman, joined today. Look at how dapper you look today.
Well, thank you, Benjamin. Thank you for having me.
By my co-host, Mr. Andrew Ghai. You know, I thought about trying to do the British accent when we started. But I don't know if I could just yell in a British accent.
If you would have done that, I would have had to go with like a Scottish accent or something.
If I was going to try to do British on camera, I'd just be probably like doing lines from like Dire Straits live at Donington or something. Like that's the only. Like,
what is it? You always do the same.
I'd be like, okay, let's have a go at the single. It's a song by the jazz band, partly. It's called The Sultans of Swing. That's
Ben can do one sentence with an English accent. That one is very good.
That's very good. Anyway, this is Action Movie Anatomy, guys. We talk action movies on this show. Today we're talking about Kingsman, The Secret Service, the surprise smash hit from just a couple years ago. And as well as myself, or you can find it Ben Bateman Media on Twitter and Instagram. Andrew.
You can find me at Andrew Ghai on Twitter.
And of course, the podcast itself, the video show, you can be found on Twitter at AMA Podcast and watched and streamed live on YouTube, which you're probably watching and streaming, we hope, live right now. But we have a very special guest, and she's asked not to be on camera, but just so you guys know who you're watching. And
you know the presence is here.
My mother is in the room with us today. Yes.
Mama Bateman.
My mom is sitting there and she's laughing, so we're going to try as hard as we can to get her to belly laugh, and so you can hear her show up, because you won't be able to see
That is the only goal of this whole show, is to get a belly laugh out of the mom.
We're just going to throw random stuff out there to get unsolicited laughs. So, Kingsman, The Secret Service, what'd you think?
Dude, I love this movie, and you'll get it from my thesis statement, but this movie was so good. It was shockingly good. It's so entertaining, and it just drives. The whole time, it just gets better and better and better, and that doesn't happen a lot in action movies.
No, it doesn't. I mean, especially new ones like this. This movie completely took me by surprise. Like, I remember seeing the trailer for this movie, which we're going to show in just a minute here, and thinking, this is kind of cool. Like, it looks interesting, but it also looks like it's trying really hard to be like British cool. Like, this is young and awesome. Like, we're back to me doing British accents again on the show. It's not good.
Yeah, it looked like they were trying way too hard to make it Bondy, but then like so gimmicky and like fun. And again, it's the thing with advertising. It's super hard to advertise movies like this.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because what we found out is that Matthew Vaughn and Dave Gibbons were sitting in a bar, and we're just like, I want to watch fun spy movies like we used to watch, which is a conversation that ended up in the movie between Samuel L. Jackson and Colin Firth's character. Like, I'm sick of these spy movies that take themselves so seriously. Let's just do a fun spy movie, which is what they made.
Yeah.
And in the way that all of those Bond movies, remember when we saw Spectre, we thought that it was a little bit like too cheeky, trying to do that old British humor too much.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's exactly how I felt about it. And it also just felt like they got caught.
Yeah.
They got caught in the middle ground, which is a big problem when you're trying to do both.
Yeah.
Whereas where this one, it perfectly executes the middle ground.
The fact that this film is derived from a comic book is so clear. And it's like the comic book version of James Bond, but it's kind of younger and cooler and more fun, is exactly what this feels like. Yeah. So they executed it perfectly. So we're going to show the trailer here in just 1 second. Before we do that, we should let you guys know we chose this movie based on 4 rules that all of the films we do on this show basically loosely adhere to. Rule number 1, the film as well as being made after 1981, the hero always plays by their own rules. Eggsy definitely plays by
his own rules.
Eggsy.
Eggsy.
Rule number 2, the hero and the villain are always the smartest people, beings, things, dinosaurs, aliens in the room, what have you.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's hard to even really characterize Sam Jackson as the villain. But he's great. He's very funny.
I wanted to say something real quick because people have already been talking about it in the live chat.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson's lisp is something that was real. He used to have one before he was an actor, and I think doing the acting training helped him get rid of that lisp. So when I first watched it, I thought it was a kind of an odd choice.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that even though in the beginning it seems so odd and like unnecessary,
yeah,
it actually fits perfectly with the movie.
It's really funny.
It's good.
It adds a great comic element. Rule number 3, the movie is driven by a police, military, or political or mercenary figure. I don't know if...
I mean, they're Secret Service, kind of.
Kind of. They're
Yeah.
like a private security, which is mercenary to some
okay.
degree.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I guess it's kind of that.
They kill a lot of people.
Rule number 4, the movie contains a minimum of 1 explosion. There are explosions all over. There are explosions of fucking awesome all over also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's those cool rainbow explosions.
Yeah. What a weird movie in some ways. Let's cue the trailer up. Be sure, obviously, guys, to find us on iTunes. Twice in the last few weeks, we've gotten 2 new ratings.
I love it.
And reviews, which is awesome because it helps us stay high in the standings so new people can find out about the show. So find that. Let's cue the trailer.
I don't remember this trailer whatsoever.
Yeah, it's all right. It's pretty good.
It's freezing. Why are we walking? We jacked the car keys. Oh, that's my car!
That part was so awesome.
Yeah.
Huge IQ, great performance in the Marines, but you gave up.
Hero qualifier.
Yeah.
Crime.
Your coach thought you were Olympic level stuff, Eggsy.
Your father saved my life.
Dean says you're fair game. Boys,
I've had a rather emotional day, so whatever your beef with Eggsy is, and I'm sure it's well-founded, I'd appreciate it if you could just leave us in peace.
you should get out of the way, Granddaddy. You'll get hurt.
He's so good.
He's great.
Manners?
It's a great pairing, the two of them.
Yes.
Great chemistry, like really.
Do you know what that means?
It's endearing, too.
Yeah.
You get that father figure.
Such a sweet scene.
Are we going to stand around here all day, or are we going to fight?
You know, I was talking to our buddy Fernando Chen, the guy that did all the fight choreography for Warrior.
Yeah.
I was telling him we were going to do this movie this week. And he wasn't a big fan of it, but it's because he's a fight choreographer.
Yeah.
He's so critical of the slow motion speed up fighting.
Got it,
And how
yeah.
like uninnovative it is.
Yeah.
And I was trying to tell him, like, you don't have to be an innovative action movie to be a good action movie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so that's I did a lot of this. Was right. They slowed the fighting down.
Yeah, and then sped it up.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And double speed and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Which is pretty clear when they're doing it.
Right.
But to me, it was awesome.
It was awesome. And the
Yeah.
music that they did with, yeah.
It's just funny because it's like the.
I love her.
Yeah.
Is that in the movie?
Yeah.
Felt sorry for the boy, did you?
It's funny that Iggy Azalea's song playing and they reference
Yeah.
her once in the movie.
Yeah.
Mankind is the virus.
In the virus.
It's a virus.
Sounds like a lot of people are going to die.
Super hilarious villain.
Like I give him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be a shot from the comic book.
So sweet. Which in the comic book it was a played by a male.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, male amputee.
Yeah, I've never read this comic. Like Mark Millar, but never read the comic.
Son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna do. Is if you did a British accent in the beginning, I was gonna do the list.
You were going to do the lift.
I was gonna do the lift. Hello.
My name is Andrew Ghai. I love this movie.
I love this movie. I like this tie. That's good.
Yeah.
It's a good trailer.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Entertaining. I can still see watching that why I might have thought that it was like gonna be not quite what it was, but it definitely completely surprised me. So. We're going to start this off with a thing we do called Action Movie Tagline. So for those of you that are watching or listening for the very first time, Andrew and I have these memories of being kids and going to the video store, the actual physical video store,
Yep.
where we would walk the aisles, and so much of the information you would get from movies came from the movie box. And specifically when we were kids, the VHS movie box, which were usually filled with styrofoam so that if they fell off the shelf, it wouldn't break the movie.
And then they had those gross plastic,
Yeah.
like, thick plastic ones that held the case or the movie.
Yeah, so we'd like, as kids, you'd walk around and you'd like pull these movies down from the shelf and you'd look at them. There was always like a couple taglines on the box. Short ones on the front, like a slam bang action thriller or a non-stop adrenaline thrill ride. Yeah. And then on the back, there would be some longer ones, like, could be anything. Like, this movie takes you places you never thought you'd go
Right, it's
and
like a
beyond.
paragraph.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like from the director of such and such, we bring you this film. So Andrew and I decided we would start doing this thing a little while back where we would make up our own action movie tagline for the movies in question and do them live on the show. I'm assuming we're both going to do ours in a British accent.
Of course.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I would like you to go first this time.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see if I can read my own handwriting here. Let's see. Here's what I got. Manners maketh man. It's like drinking a 62 Darmon while doing it in the fanny.
I see what you did there. The reference to the Swedish princess.
Yeah,
I like
she,
that.
She just says we could do it in the asshole in the movie.
Yeah, but
she's a
you're
lot more vulgar.
Yeah, she really.
Yeah.
For someone that's been captive for a while, she's like down.
Yeah.
I like her.
My mom is in the room. If anybody forgot.
Also, Ben, in British parlance, fanny doesn't mean butt.
Crap. He was gonna say bum, but then
damn
me
it.
and his mom convinced him to say fanny.
Yeah, I
Well,
forgot.
For those of you, that's our Mark Donica, in case you couldn't hear him at the beginning of last episode.
I'm going to be honest with you guys.
He's
Bum
with us.
is written on the page. I just can't read it.
Can't read.
Donica, yeah, is trusted producer and engineer on the show. Donica, anything you want to add? Of course, you're always welcome.
Do what I can.
All right, here we go. Oxfords, check. Spectacles, check. Umbrella, check. Time to save the world and get the girl.
I like it. Short, sweet,
Short.
good.
Sweet, to the point.
It's good. It's good. It's weird with this movie because, okay, so when we do movies like Face Off or we do movies like Predator, it's like they're not in on the joke all the way.
Right.
So we get to be in on the joke, which makes the process of writing taglines and talking about the movie
So much more.
it's just that we can laugh more. Whereas with this movie, it's totally in on the joke.
Yeah.
It's like this movie's awesome, but there's.
It pokes fun at itself, but in a well, that's one of the biggest things that people had problems with this movie is that it's very meta. It's
Yeah.
very self-referential.
Totally.
But I think it's good.
I totally agree. I just mean like writing a tagline, for instance.
Right.
You almost have to do the tagline to be kind of meta, or it's not gonna. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Like that's. But the humor's already there, so it's not that funny. Yeah. I don't know.
No, I fell apart.
Yeah.
I just can't do taglines anymore, man. They get harder and harder every week.
I mean, I wasn't talking about your tagline, dude. I
just thought that when you said yours, it made me think of this.
All right, so the next thing we do on the show is something called thesis statement, and this is our bold thought about the movie. So we choose something about the film that we really want to try to defend throughout the course of the whole show, and we introduce this as a bold statement, kind of based in hyperbole almost. Shouldn't be anything soft, shouldn't be anything loose, has to be something like, this is the greatest this, or this is the one time this ever happened, the best representation of X ever, not like, this is my favorite action star in the 90s.
Right.
Right. Or I had Eggos for breakfast or something. I don't know.
I did have Eggos for breakfast.
Very good. I heard a laugh.
I got a slight laugh out of the
from
mom
my
in the corner.
She's laughing.
All right, we can cut the show now. We're done. We're done. All right, so mine is, I have so many of them.
Yeah.
Like, is Colin Firth the greatest surprise action star ever? Is this
Good one.
I'll just say it. This, for me, is the greatest surprise treat of a movie I've seen, and I can't even tell you how long. I had no interest in watching this movie. Once it came out on V8 or on DVD, I didn't go rent it. I had no interest. It looked so stupid.
Yeah.
But then, our buddy
Yeah.
at work, Alex, told me, he's like, dude, you gotta watch it. It's insane.
Yeah.
And again, I went into it with such low expectations. I was blown away.
Well, and that's
Blown
because
away.
a lot of what Alex says is just gobbledygook.
Oh, it just pisses me off because he's so opinionated.
He's
But
so, yeah.
I do love him.
Not gobbledygook like not educated, just gobbledygook in the sense like you're I want to punch you sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alex, if you're listening, I would enjoy to have my job still. No, but seriously, I have to thank him because this movie, it just blew me away, and I don't know if I ever would have watched it had he not told me to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He probably will watch this and then he'll fire you and not explain why.
Right before he says, I know I was right.
All right, so what I went with my thesis statement is that you guys know the director Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder is directing Batman vs. Superman. He did 300. He did Watchmen. He is incredibly famous for doing high-profile comic book adaptations of some of the most famous comic books of all time. I mean, for God's sakes, Watchmen is the most famous comic book of all time. The Dark Knight Returns, they're taking elements from that comic and they are putting it into Batman vs. Superman. This is just what he does. Frank Miller's 300, one of the most famous. I believe Matthew Vaughn is the greatest comic book adaptation director ever.
Really?
And that Zack Snyder is, in fact, a poor man's Matthew Vaughn.
I completely agree with you.
Because I like Matthew Vaughn's movies.
They're so much better.
They're just more...
I don't love Kick-Ass, but it's good.
Yeah.
You know, like all these movies that he's done, and with the comic book adaptations or not, he's just good.
Yeah.
And I was surprised when I saw his filmography. I didn't know that he'd done all those movies. I mean, he hasn't done a lot of movies, but I've enjoyed
First Class is sweet.
Yeah, Layer Cake is awesome. First Class is amazing.
I like First Class, I think, more than any Zack Snyder movie. Maybe 300's better, but...
I don't think so.
No?
I really don't think so, man.
Like, First Class is really good. Like, it's not like Zack Snyder makes bad movies. It's just that his movies have no soul. That's what it is. It's like, I don't think he's a bad director, and I'm very excited for Batman vs. Superman because I think watching Zack Snyder do Batman is going to be incredible.
Yeah, he's good at what he does.
But it's just like, I never walk away from the movies being like, that was so cool, I want to watch that again. It's always like, what an incredible visual treat that was.
Yeah, I mean, whereas last night when I finished watching this movie, I sat there and I just had a smile on my face.
Yeah.
Like, I just felt good, you know?
Yeah.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, totally.
Loved it.
Poor man's Zack Snyder.
I like that.
Zack Snyder is the poor man's Matthew Vaughn.
I do like Zack Snyder, like you said, but
Yeah.
I completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, like I would never ever have a conversation, and I feel that I try to have honest conversations with those that I interview. So if I was to interview Zack Snyder someday, it's like I would be fascinated.
Oh, completely.
Fascinated. Like so many things I'd want to ask, so much appreciation for so much of what he's done. But in terms of the quality of movie based on story, I feel like that's the reason that Vaughn's movies are more successful.
Yeah, Vaughn's a better storyteller, and
Yeah.
he has more heart in his films.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, excellent. Let's get into the next part of the show, which is something we call Fist Pump Moment. Fist Pump Moment is that part in the show where I just imagined interviewing Zack Snyder and felt the need to defend myself because I was like, if I ever meet the guy, I'll be really embarrassed. Anyway, Fist Pump Moment actually is not that. Fist Pump Moment is that part of the show where we're like, if you're watching a movie and something really awesome happens, and you're just kind of looking around, like maybe you're watching it, nobody's on the couch with you, and you're like, buddy, get in here. I need to show you something right now. This is so awesome. Maybe you call your buddy on the phone. You're like, I just need to talk to you because I'm watching Kingsman.
Have
and
you
there's this
seen-
church
yeah.
scene. Go to YouTube right now. Look it up. Look it up. I want to watch it.
I'll wait.
I'll wait. I want to sync it up so we can watch it at the same
Man, this
time.
is a 5-minute scene. I said I'll wait.
That is Fist Pump Moment, and we have many of them in many of the movies. This movie has a ton of Fist Pump
There's
moments.
so many great ones.
So we're going to share our Fist Pump Moment with you guys. Right now, if you have your own, leave them on YouTube. Leave them in the comments. If my mom comes up with a Fist Pump Moment, I'm going to make her say it. But I'm not going to force her to unless she really wants to. And let's talk Fist Pump Moment.
Okay, so it's very rare that we get like you always have a legitimate fist pump moment, but one of the ones that like really sticks in your mind, you know? And so last night, I'm sitting there watching this movie with my buddy. I'm sorry it wasn't you.
Yeah.
It was a different friend. He fell asleep.
Yeah.
He fell asleep like 30 minutes out of the end of the movie.
Okay.
And there's that scene.
Was he inebriated?
I can't say. He wasn't sober.
If it was me, I would know the answer.
Yeah, exactly. Look, it's not a big deal, man. I'll watch the movie with you next week. So he falls asleep.
Yeah.
He falls asleep maybe like 15 or 20 minutes before Eggsy's in that hallway where he's getting trapped. He's surrounded. He's he knows he's gonna die. And Strong, they're pulling up that anti-air missile like right up to the front of the plane. And I'm sitting there. I look over and he's asleep. And I was like, Mike. No. I was like, shit. I was like, fine. I just watched it, but I was like sitting there, I wrote it down. I was like, this is a real, legitimate fist bump. Like the music, the moment, you don't know how they're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And then it goes from being so serious to everyone's head exploding rainbows.
Okay, so it's difficult to watch this movie and not come out of it just thinking, this fist bump moment is the church scene. Like,
right.
It's the coolest scene in the movie. It's the most insane scene in the movie. And we will show that scene later because we're going to talk about it a little bit more later. I decided my fist bump moment was actually the scene where Colin Firth kicks the thug's ass in the bar at the beginning. Because it's like, that's like the whole definition of fist pump moment is that scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the whole point. It's like, who is this old? And it's like, we're gonna talk smack to this old geezer, right? And it's
geezer.
like, and you're like, you know it's about to go down.
Yeah, you
when
know he's
locking
gonna
the door.
wreck them.
Yeah, you just know it. He's this old dude with an umbrella. That's the coolest part about this movie is just that whole thing. It's like these gentlemen in suits. You're the modern gentleman suit.
Right.
Our armor is a suit. So cool.
We need
I'm
to
with
get
you there, Bateman.
bulletproof suits.
Yeah.
How sweet that would be.
We do need to get bulletproof suits.
We can just walk around shooting each other.
We need to write that into our action film.
We do. We really need to write this action movie. It needs to happen.
I don't even know what it would be about. I don't know who the main character. I feel like we would write the most convoluted, absurd.
It would just have every single action movie packed into one.
Question is this: like, okay, Expendables is trying to do what we would sort of envision doing, I'm imagining.
Right, but ours is going to be more. Ours is more serious.
Right?
It's got to be more.
We would take it a little more seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like when we were watching. So Ben and I saw London Has Fallen last night.
Yeah.
It was last night, and
Sweet.
it was very good.
Comes out this weekend. We recommend seeing it.
Yeah, it was super awesome.
I mean, if you love this show, it's awesome.
Right. If you like Olympus Has Fallen, it's like better than it.
If you want a good movie from the traditional sense of what actual quality is,
Not a good movie.
don't see this
Not a
movie.
good movie.
But if you like this show and you liked Olympus, you will love London Has Fallen.
So what I was getting at is there's moments in London Has Fallen, they do it all the time. It's like U.S. blah, blah, blah. Like all the titles like typed on the screen. I was sitting there and I was like, if Ben and I were going to make an action movie, when it says 6:30 p.m.,
Yeah.
it would say 6:31.
Yeah.
Like Tony Scott used to do.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
never had round even times. There was always like a
never.
minute or two off.
Yeah, 5:47.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Things are about to go down.
Yeah.
So we need to write this action movie. This does need to happen.
Yeah. Oh, completely. I was just remembering this morning because like some internet trailer came up while I was driving here, and they show the line from the movie that just we both were dying laughing. I don't know about you, but I'm thirsty as fuck. Why does he say that? Why does he say
That movie is incredibly self-aware of what it is. Like Mike
man.
Banning is 10 times or 100 times more Mike Banning than he is in the first one. He's got like stupid lines and he jokes and he becomes like Bruce Willis in Die Hard.
Yeah, it's so good. I know this man. He's Mike Banning. Special Forces, Ranger Battalion.
Ranger Battalion.
We can trust him. Oh man, I can't wait to do that movie next week.
What movie are we talking about right now?
Yeah, I know. We're just talking about.
My fist pump moment was the Guinness toss.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
specifically, that moment kicked
Just
off
that.
everything, and because it was so perfectly executed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. I mean, that's the funny thing is the slow up, speed down stuff is so effective in that scene. That's what makes
fun.
it so cool.
I mean, even in Sherlock Holmes when they do it, it's fun.
Yeah.
Like the pre-planned out fighting, it's all slowed down, then they speed it up. Like, it's good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess to some degree, like this movie and this director, he feels like a slightly less like overtly British Guy Ritchie, which makes sense that they work together and they're friends. But like Lock, Stock, Snatch, all of Guy Ritchie's movies, as his style kind of devolved and people stopped being so charmed by it.
Yeah.
Rock and Roll, Revolver, Swept Away, I think was the one that he did.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you do something really cool and new.
Yeah.
And you can't just keep doing that same thing forever.
It's weird though because I feel like some directors do that and they manage to evolve within their own style.
Like Tony Scott.
Yeah, we love Tony Scott, but he's kind
But
of
he's not like innovative.
he's like his own animal. I was gonna say more like Wes Anderson.
Yeah, I mean the greatest example of someone that can do that is James Cameron.
Yeah.
The absolute greatest example of a director that evolves with the times and he has his own style.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like Wes Anderson, if you look at like Rushmore and then you look at, say, like Grand Budapest, it's like Grand Budapest has a lot of the same stuff that Rushmore and Tenenbaums have, but it strings together and feels just like a bit more like a dramatic, charming movie with a real story as opposed to that earlier stuff, which is like all quirk.
So I didn't see Budapest.
Okay.
Did Tenenbaums and Budapest feel fresh from one another?
It feels different. Like I said, it feels evolved.
It does? Okay.
Like
All right.
Tenenbaums is great, but Tenenbaums is like, to me, the peak of his early films.
Yes.
Like he hit everything on the head in that movie, and by the time he made Darjeeling Limited and the other Steve Zissou, Life Aquatic, both of those movies are sort of like the watered down version of The Cuteness. And then he evolved and he kept making movies, and like Fantastic Mr. Fox is very good. I never saw Moonrise Kingdom.
I didn't either.
But people like that movie a lot. But Darjeeling or the Grand Budapest it feels less like the old ones. It's like more reformed or something. Like,
All right.
but then that's my point is
Check that out.
I think with this guy's style, with Guy Ritchie's style, he didn't evolve as much as I would have liked. Whereas Matthew Vaughn, it's like his approach feels much, much more relatable.
Like I do actually really enjoy the Sherlock Holmes movies.
Yeah.
I really like them, but it didn't feel the same way as it did when you first watched Lock, Stock, or Snatch.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, let's get on. Let's move on to
The movie we're actually talking about.
yeah. Star Profiles is super interesting because these guys are not action heroes.
Stars.
Yeah,
Taron Egerton was kind of a nobody.
he was a nobody.
Yeah.
He'd been in one feature film, one short film, and been on TV.
Yeah, whereas Colin Firth, this was just the ultimate like backwards career turn for him.
Yeah.
What a cool one to do. I mean, okay, so like Before I Go to Sleep, Magic in the Moonlight, Devil's Knot, 2014, 2014.
I literally know nothing about any of those movies.
I'm the same as you.
Yeah.
Colin Firth, if I was going to like name the roles that jump out at me when I think about him, Love Actually comes to mind.
Bridget Jones.
Bridget Jones, which is
King's Speech.
Is Notting Hill him?
That's Hugh Grant.
No, what's the other one? About a Boy. That's it. Right?
About a Boy.
About a Boy.
Is Hugh Grant?
No, he's in one of those two, guaranteed.
Well, he's in. No, it's Hugh Grant in both of them.
He's not in either movie.
No, I mean he might be a small part, but Hugh Grant's the lead in both of those.
I feel like he's in About a Boy, and he's got a reasonably large part. But anyway, Love Actually.
Donica, figure that out.
A Single Man, which is
the
Tom
that was a good
Ford
one.
movie,
Yeah.
which I think he got an Academy Award nomination for, which is great. And then obviously King's Speech, as you said.
Which he kills it in. He's very, very good. He's so good that it drives you crazy.
Yeah,
because his stutter is so you can tell it just eats him alive.
I think that must be 2012.
2012. Yeah.
And so that's just sort of right before that. So it's cool that a couple years later he would go and do this movie. And I've heard, even though, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched this movie and you're just watching us because you love us and you love our glasses,
You should watch this movie.
Firth would struggle to come back in the second film, if you know what I mean. If I can't move my
I'm
glasses.
trying to do the same thing, but the headphones are. He dies.
Yeah.
He gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Did you find that a little bit like
Awesome?
well, okay, awesome choice, but like he's supposed to be a super spy. How does he just get caught with his pants down like that?
Well, because he's just been hypnotized.
Yeah.
And then he comes out. He's like still all screwed up,
Yeah.
and then there's two guys with machine guns on him. I did bother me. I thought the same thing last night. I was like, you got to be able to get out of this.
Right.
But at the same time, like he just was completely out of control for 5 minutes.
Donica, what's the story on About a Boy, Notting Hill?
He was in neither of those movies
Nice.
in
Damn
any
it.
regard.
I don't know if it's cool or not that I was able to know that for sure.
I think
Andrew, it's cool.
I think
Thanks,
I know
Donica.
why. I think it has something to do with the large amount of women in your household growing up.
Look, man, I just enjoyed those movies when I was growing up. Nothing to say
Nothing
about
to do
it.
with my sisters.
But
You talk about my mom.
in terms of Firth coming back for a second one, we didn't see his body taken away
There
at
you
the end
go.
of the scene.
There you go. Maybe he
We-
shot him in his bulletproof eyeglasses.
We haven't seen crap. This is a comic book spy movie. Anything can happen. Could have been a damn robot. Who knows?
This is true. I'm going to go ahead and move on to Egerton while Ben's over there trying to figure out what movie Colin Firth was in. So Egerton, the only other movie he'd been in before this was called Testament of Youth, and
Okay.
he had like I actually have no idea what his role was in that movie. That's another thing about both these guys is that neither of them were doing anything relevant at the time. I mean, Colin Firth did King's Speech 3 years prior, but even that was one of those movies that it was just Oscar bait. It wasn't a movie that, Colin Firth wasn't really an A-lister. So Egerton, he did Hereafter, which was a short in 2013. He was a lead character on The Smoke, a TV series, and then Testament of Youth in 2014, and then this.
Right. And now,
yeah.
Yeah, so Eddie and the Eagle comes out this weekend. Or last
Yeah.
weekend.
Or I think it just came out.
Just
Yeah.
came out, and it's produced by some of the same guys. There's also another Kingsman in the works, and Egerton's like attached to some big stuff.
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
That kid's gonna be a huge star, huge.
And he deserves it because I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because I want to be an actor.
Yeah.
But when like kids this age are
Yeah.
in movies as leads, I'm always kind of like, all right, we'll see.
Yeah, right.
He kills it.
Yeah,
he
he's
does
so good.
good in this.
Yeah.
And I love him. I have nothing bad. It was the same thing with Miles Teller when I saw Whiplash.
Yeah,
and
love
even the
Teller.
first, what was the very first? Was it Divergent?
Yeah.
Yeah, even that, I was like, okay, this kid's a douchebag. But then I saw Whiplash, and he's just great.
Yeah, he's
so
super good in Whiplash.
I enjoy that when
Yeah.
these guys surprise me.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. So, Egerton's definitely going to be a big star. I hope they figure out a way. One of the things I read is like the possibility of Firth being like having a twin brother or something like that.
I'm so okay with anything.
Yeah.
Like, I just want him back.
Yeah, absolutely.
He trained for 6 months and did 80% of his own stunts.
Yeah. Did you know that that you could like buy all of the clothing in this movie? That was like part of the deal.
We can buy bulletproof suits.
No, not bulletproof suits, but all of the clothing. There was like a real version of everything that every one of the characters
Right,
wore.
they created like a whole line.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
That was so cool.
Their suits are like just classy, like a little old school.
I'm going to get every single Valentine costume I can.
all the hats.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, so like with Firth's suits, I was noticing like they have him wearing for like a lot of the movie these like double-breasted, super wide peak lapel suits
with like six buttons, right?
Yeah, double-breasted, and they're like, but it's very trendy, and it was very trendy in like the early part of this last decade to bring back double-breasted. Like I remember Morgan Freeman.
I think the first suit I ever had when I was young was a double-breasted suit. Yeah.
I have like one that I don't ever wear anymore, but like Morgan Freeman wears a double-breasted suit in Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises, I think it is. So it was like a thing that was sort of getting popular again, but it's like it doesn't matter that it's not trendy anymore. It's old school, which is why he's wearing it.
Exactly.
And it looks modern, but it still looks old school. I don't know. The costume design on their suits.
They did do really, it felt super gentlemanly old school with looking like I could wear it and it'd be totally cool.
All this, the lighter grenade and like the sweet pens.
Yeah,
their
like
guns are really
the ring,
cool.
and like nothing was over the top. Like no gadget did too much. It had its one function and that was it.
Yeah.
I was a little sad that the one shotgun shot for the pistol
never was used?
never paid off,
I know.
Yeah.
I just used the shotgun out of the umbrella, which was pretty sweet.
Yeah, the umbrellas are sweet.
I want that.
The umbrella?
Yeah.
Like a killer umbrella?
Like
with
a killer umbrella. Like, I'm just going to walk around and stun people.
like a stun capsule?
It's like shooting people
And
out of my
it's
car.
bulletproof?
Look, you never know what you're going to get into when it's raining, man.
That's Andrew. He's that dude that always has that killer umbrella with
Is that
him.
the guy that just killed that guy with the umbrella? So this movie, it said that it was released in 2014,
Right.
but it didn't actually come out in the States until 2015.
Well, it's one of these situations where, I mean, we'll talk about this with the box office a little later. This movie had made most of its money internationally. It wasn't actually domestically. I mean, it was a hit domestically, a surprise hit, I think, for most people. But this movie made over $400 million.
Insane.
And a lot of that was international. So yeah, I think some of that, the whole like when was it going to be released domestically was less the issue. But yeah, they moved up and they pushed back, and they moved up and they pushed back. It definitely was. I think to some degree the studios didn't know what to do with it.
I completely agree. I wouldn't know what to do with it either. And I think it's better that they didn't originally release it in November, or they moved it back to October, and then like after they moved it forward and back and forward and back. I think it's good that it didn't come out at the end of last year.
Right.
I mean, the end of the prior year. I think it was a better time for it to come out in February, because that's not a lot of movies are coming out in February.
Yeah.
You know, so like this is a time where a movie that is this good, people are like, all right, well, there's nothing else. Let's go check it out. And then they tell everybody.
It's really weird how word of mouth works, and sometimes it's successful and sometimes it's not. I mean, I still hadn't seen this movie until we were doing it on the episode. Yeah. So, you know, as much good press as I had heard about this movie, I still decided not to watch it until, you know, we did this, which is one of the most fun things about the show is that we get to look at these movies and just, like, break the shit out of them down.
I would have never watched London Has Fallen or Olympus Has Fallen in my life.
And you're so
and
happy
I am
you
so
did.
happy I did. London, okay, I got to get over London Has Fallen. It was so sweet.
What did they make you out of, Mike?
Mike, what are you made out of?
Let's save it for next week.
Yeah, we'll leave it. Yeah, that's a good line. That's my favorite line.
Yeah, it's a good line. All right, so let's talk about the writers. Pretty much Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons, right? That's like those
are the comic book guys.
The guys who wrote the comic book, and then you had Jane Goldman, who was a screenplay writer on the film as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she only pretty much partners with Vaughn. She's got her first real project that is in production, which is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children that Tim Burton's directing, which I don't know. I'm so over Tim Burton. If he can redeem himself, I'd be very happy. She's also an author. She has the book called Dream World and the X-Files book of the Unexplained.
Got it.
But she co-wrote Stardust, Kick-Ass, and X-Men First Class, and Kingsman, all with Vaughn. So much so that I was like, are they a couple? Are they married?
No.
No, Matthew Vaughn's married to Claudia Schiffer.
Yeah.
So he probably just passed.
He's doing fine.
He's doing all right for himself.
Claudia Schiffer. Yeah. Liam Neeson from Love, actually. Amazing. Glad we both went there. All right, so Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons. So this is really interesting.
I'm just going to be quiet. Ben read 6,000 comic books growing up.
So Mark Millar was a guy that in the early 2000s was getting very, very, very popular. And there was this sort of movement in comics that was happening at the time where a lot of these writers were doing, him specifically, he did a comic book called The Authority, which was the sort of like dark counterculture, slightly more mature version of the Justice League.
Okay.
So there was a Batman character and a Superman character, I think named Apollo and named, I can't remember what Batman's character was, but they were gay was the deal. And there was a lot of cursing and violence. And
it sounds like it was pretty far ahead of its time then. It came out in 2000, right?
Like, I want to say like Authority was probably right around there, yeah. And, you know, but it was like a very, very hot comic book. People liked it a lot. Mark Millar, he wrote that. You know, he's just one of these guys where he writes stories that lend themselves really, really well to the big screen. So, I mean, just a few. He wrote Civil War, the story that we're about to see in the new Captain America movie.
Awesome.
He wrote Kingsman. He wrote the comic book that the movie Wanted is based on. Kick-Ass. Like, there was a book called We Three a long time ago that was very, very popular. That was in development to be a movie for a long time. That whole trend that happened in the early 2000s where every single comic book property started getting bought up by studios, they all got like optioned. Millar was one of those guys that was right in the middle of it. I mean, everything he touched seemed
Right.
to
I
be
mean,
solid
yeah. I
gold.
mean, every single one of those things you said. But here, okay. So I'm sorry for going off point, but I do want to get the audience's opinion, live chat opinion, and your opinion. So he wrote the Ultimate Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it.
Sure.
Do you know anything about it? Is it
Ultimate
just like the
Fantastic-
original story, or is it?
No, Ultimate Universe was a universe that was launched in the early 2000s to make Marvel characters more kid-friendly.
Okay.
But then that was the initial goal. But then as they started to develop it, like the what's his name? Andrew Garfield?
Yeah.
That Spider-Man?
That's
That's like
the-
based on Ultimate Fantastic
Okay,
Four.
so my question is
Ultimate Spider-Man.
do you think, audience as well, AMA podcast, live, whatever, tweet at us, do you think they can make a good Fantastic Four movie? Because I feel like the characters are cool, and the
Yeah.
stories are cool, the bad guy's not that bad, but like every single time it happens, it's horrid.
Yeah, I mean, the new one was one of the worst superhero movies ever made.
Yeah, if
So was
not.
the first one.
Yeah, and
I
then
mean-
and then the first one was still better than Silver Surfer.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those things where, I mean, kind of like how Deadpool was up until now. Like,
Yeah.
when can they make it cool?
I
and
think one
can
of the
they?
coolest things about Fantastic Four is how they interact with the wide Marvel universe, and they can't. So
Okay.
That
Yeah.
could be a part of it too.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Reed Richards in the stories is like sort of the brilliant scientist of the Marvel universe. He's constantly getting involved with other characters as like I'm the smartest guy in the world.
But
so
since they have the different production companies, they can never.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly,
All right. Anyway, we can
exactly.
get back to this. I just was so I just know you know so much about comics, and I'm sure our fans do too. So I was so curious because like
he's got
why can't it happen?
Mark Millar has the best Ultimate Fantastic Four run. There was like a 2-year run that he wrote with I want to say this a different artist, but great stories. Like I really like his comics. He was a very polarizing writer
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, when you make Batman gay and into like sodomy, it's just one of those things where it's very gimmicky.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fans of like sort of the I don't know, traditional comic books that when he was writing that stuff were very like, this is so just trying to grab headlines for being what it is. And it's funny, comics have caught up so much to that, but at the time, the reason he was so polarizing was that.
Because he was ahead of his. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, but he sold books, man. So Dave Gibbons, if anybody's ever heard of Watchmen, Dave Gibbons was the artist on Watchmen. I mean, Alan Moore wrote the most famous comic of all time. Dave Gibbons drew it. So that's pretty much.
So that's all you need to know.
All you need to know about him. I mean, there's also a very famous Superman story for the man who has everything. Sort of the idea being like, if you're Superman, the invincible guy, like, what do you get for the man who has everything story?
Right.
And that's an interesting story, also written by Alan Moore, but. Nonetheless, that's all we really need to talk about with Mark Millar and Dave Gibbons.
So Matthew Vaughn is one of those nice surprises for me. Like I do a lot. You guys know, as well. We do a lot of research on a lot of movies, and we've just been obsessed with them since we were kids.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that I just kind of missed.
Yeah,
I
me
didn't
too.
realize he directed Layer Cake. I didn't realize he did Kick-Ass or
Yeah.
the first X-Men or even this movie. You know, like I'd heard his name.
X-Men First Class, you mean?
Yes, First Class. Yeah, not X-Men 1, excuse me. But he's awesome. Like, so he got his start overseas, and then he came here when he was 25. He produced a little scene thriller called Innocent Sleep.
Never seen it yet.
I don't know anything about it. And then he became a producer with his close friend Guy Ritchie on Lock, Stock, and that was
Yeah.
kind of his like big start.
Right.
So he did Lock, Stock, Snatch, Swept Away, and then he directed Layer Cake in 2004, which, as many of you know, is kind of a forgotten classic. Like everyone that sees that movie that's never seen it before loves it. It's a great, just like good thriller.
Yeah, I've never seen that cake.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't see it until like my second year at college. My buddies were like, "You haven't seen this movie? Like,
Yeah.
this is your type of movie, man."
I remember it was coming out, and it was right before Casino Royale, I'm pretty sure.
Right. This is what like people are like, "Okay, Daniel Craig, who's this guy?"
He was in that movie Layer Cake, was
Yeah.
kind of the idea with it when he did Casino Royale. I think we talked about that on that very same episode where we were also wearing
very
suits.
same episode.
I tried to do a British accent and got made fun of.
Was that with Kathy Kelly?
Yeah, she made a lot of fun of me.
She loved ripping apart your. You guys can tweet at Kathy Kelly and thank her for that. So then he went on to he got tapped to direct X-Men: Last Stand, but then dropped out
In favor of Brett Ratner.
in favor of the Brett Ratner.
Amazing.
We don't need to talk about him. We don't need to do that to anybody.
Or that movie.
And then he went on to Stardust, and then he did Kick-Ass, and then in 2010 it was confirmed that he would do First Class. And I feel like, I mean, Kick-Ass was probably kind of the one where people really started to notice him.
Yeah.
But then First Class, that movie, that's the best X-Men movie I've ever seen.
Oh, no.
Really?
I don't think so. I think Days of Future Past is the best.
Which one's the first new one is First Class.
That's the one with the young cast, yeah.
Yeah.
I really like First Class. It's got the one scene in the bar with Magneto.
Oh, so
that is
sweet.
super badass.
And just like all of his looks.
Yeah.
He's always like bleeding out of his eyes.
There's some really cool stuff. Kevin Bacon's a great villain.
Yeah, you're really in the coin?
Yeah, January Jones.
All right, which one do you like more?
He's awful.
She's just atrocious.
She cannot act in that
Oh
movie.
yeah, she slept with. There was like that whole thing of her
Yeah.
like sleeping with him. Was it him?
Who which?
Matthew Vaughn.
Oh, I don't know.
I think it was him.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Well,
But I'm pretty sure.
I like that movie a lot. I think that movie was slightly overhyped. Like there's
Okay.
some parts of it that are a little silly when I watch it. Days of Future Past I just like more.
You like it a little more.
But it's cool that they joined the two, and then Apocalypse just looks awesome.
Yeah, Apocalypse looks real good.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be very good. I mean, it's funny because it used to be the old standard for the best superhero movie was X2, X United.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Yeah,
but
X2 is
now
really good.
now those ones are kind of forgotten. They're
Yeah,
like the
there's
old
just-
Batmans almost.
Yeah, it completely. I mean, the new superhero movies are in such just a different world.
Yeah.
The kind of budget that they would have wanted to make those old movies, and the kind of
three
freedom.
times as much.
Well, the kind of freedom creatively too. You know, that first X-Men film from 2000 is like, it's 2099. It's like
Yeah, I think it's 2000.
they're in all black leather suits.
Exactly. It's
and
still super like Hollywood, I guess. Mainstream.
like trying to make the mainstream X-Men movie where it's like Psylocke's gonna wear purple and have purple hair,
Yeah.
and like
be smoking hot.
They're just gonna have all of the characters be totally accurate.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a fail because they realize that everybody grew up reading comic books.
I mean, that's the thing with what we talk about, even with when we're talking about word of mouth and people talking about movies online and reading comic books, audiences are too educated now to
Yeah.
treat them like that.
Right.
And no one wants to see that.
It's interesting that Vaughn was supposed to direct Last Stand, dropped out of it, then Ratner, demolished it.
Right.
And then it's funny. So he directs First Class. Then he's supposed to do Days of Future Past, but then Bryan Singer decides to do.
I'm not positive on this. I couldn't figure it out through the reading, but I think he opted out of it out of respect.
Oh, okay.
I think he was kind of like, well, Bryan Singer, he did a great job. Let's bring him back.
Yeah, right,
you know?
right.
So Vaughn, all he's doing right now is working on Kingsman 2, and unfortunately, he just produced the new Fantastic Four, which is a big miss on him.
Great cast: Miles Teller, Michael B.
know.
Jordan, Kate Mara.
Yeah.
Who played the Johnny the Thing? Ben Grimm.
I can't remember his name. But yeah, that's exactly how I felt. So we got two guys that produced this movie: Adam Bowling, David Reed, and also Matthew Vaughn. Excuse me. Bowling and Reed have been partners for a long time. They met in the 90s, and they were also producers on Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, Snatch, and then they've basically just been on all of Vaughn's big projects since then.
Seems like a team, yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool. They do a good job. They most recently produced Eddie the Eagle, which is not him, and now they're starting to write and produce their own films.
Yeah.
I think they do a good job, so that'd be something cool to look forward to in the next few years.
I hope Eddie the Eagle is good.
Me too.
I haven't watched it yet. So let's talk about box office.
Yeah, we'll look at the chart in a second. I'll just get through these numbers really quick. Studio was Fox. It was an $81 million movie to make. It was released in February of 2015, like we talked about early. It grossed $128 million domestic, which is still surprising.
Right.
Like, it's not great, but then it grossed an additional $286 million worldwide for a grand total of $414 million. The Kingsman made almost $500 million. What?
Yeah, it's really bizarre that happened. I don't understand how this movie could. How did this movie make $414 million?
I don't know. I wish that when you looked at those numbers, you could probably get to it if you looked a little deeper.
Yeah.
But you could figure out what countries spent how much.
I mean, it's just unreal. Like, I guess it must have been the word of mouth on this movie. Had to have been huge. I mean, the comic book was not like. This was not a comic book that just like was everywhere that everyone heard about. I mean, I don't read comics like I used to read comics, but I'm still in a comic book store a decent amount of the time to play Magic because I play Magic cards and I'm a pro.
He wears this suit when he plays Magic cards, by the way.
But I mean, I never heard about this comic book, so it's I don't know how the fuck did this movie make $414 million?
Word of mouth, 100% word of mouth. When this movie was coming out, you couldn't shut people up about how awesome it was.
Right, but you also, about when it was coming out, people didn't know or give a shit that it was coming out until after it had already been out.
Because its second weekend was amazing.
Right, exactly, because the first weekend, you know what movie it opened against? A little movie called 50 Shades of Grey.
Ooh.
That is why. And 50 Shades of Grey grossed $85 million as Kingsman grossed $36.
50 Shades is steamy. It's a steamy film.
It's a steamy film. We'll do that on the show one day. Yeah. There's some action in there.
It's a different kind of explosion.
Action.
Yeah, different kind of explosion. But I'm assuming over the next month and a half, those numbers switched. They flip-flopped.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I wonder, it sort of reminds me of like a similar effect to Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah.
The trailer for Mad Max Fury Road was really hard to make out what it was going to be, and it had a similar marketing campaign in the sense that like when the trailer started, it was just like, huh. I mean, that could be really good, but I have no interest in watching it.
Right. Like, if it wasn't for my complete man crush on Tom Hardy, I wouldn't have seen it opening weekend.
I think the second weekend on Fury Road was almost as big as the first weekend.
I believe you're right.
Yeah.
Which is, congratulations to George Miller.
For winning
awesome.
6 Oscars.
But really, I need to take a moment. You guys can zoom in on me. Thank you, Alicia Vikander. Congratulations, my love. I was rooting for you, and I threw a little party for you. So we still got the cake.
Yeah.
Just waiting on her to come by.
I was the only guest invited.
He actually didn't come.
I declined to attend.
Anyway, so I still got some cake. I was so happy when she won.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen her act ever.
No. Yeah, I mean, apparently she was very good. I didn't watch Danish Girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. Somebody in the chat earlier was like, they were just like clowning. I think Axel was clowning on your
Of course.
Vikander love.
Yeah, because if we did a modern recast, you know who would have played that. I would have put the girl with the sword legs in recast specifically to cast Alicia Vikander.
Amazing. Steven was just showing me, actually, by the way, the Mad Max episode we did of this show at the very beginning, like the 4th episode we did, is still the most viewed episode we've ever done. It's like
By far.
1.2 million hits or something like that. It's spiked in the last week.
It did?
Huge spikes.
What do you mean?
Massive. Like
The numbers on it?
Yeah. Like it's getting the daily views on it now. It went way up again, which is hilarious.
It is.
I love our show, guys. I am appreciative every single time any one of you decides to watch a whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
But that one is just sort of in another world we don't really understand, or it's hard to really fathom how that.
Yeah, we're not complaining.
Yeah.
We love that you guys love the show, and we're so grateful. But it's one of those things, just like, why?
Yeah.
How?
That one. It's
I'm
unreal.
cool with it.
Yeah. So anyway, this movie it's the classic story for us. It's the audience score is the highest score on Rotten Tomatoes at 84%. Anytime a movie has 84% and it's in our genre, the audience score, it's like that's a movie we should definitely do.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, even top critics gave it a 67, which for action movies, if top critics are willing to give an action movie a 67%,
And we're talking like a popcorn action movie, not like a Gladiator action movie or Aliens, but like a popcorn action movie.
if they're willing to give it 67, you know that it's probably worth checking out.
Yeah.
Unless the other scores are somehow lower. But and that's a 7.8 on IMDb. I mean,
Also
both
great.
are solid scores.
Oh, I didn't want to skip this. This is my fault. Ben, you pulled the graphic, the box office graphic. If we can pull that up here, Donica, of these are some of the most successful, or well, not the most successful. These are the movies that are in the same realm. Comic book movies, right?
Domestically, so comic book adaptations. I pulled the top 100. I was just like looking at the all-time. This is not adjusted, so like you have like Superman on there. Obviously, from '78 is kind of a disingenuous total. If you had pulled the adjusted numbers, it'd be different. Also, this movie would be much higher if you were going worldwide. But the fact of the matter is, it's interesting to me that you have Wanted at number 41 there with 134 million. That's a Millar adaptation. You have X-Men First Class at 38. That's a Matthew Vaughn film. You have this movie, sitting at number 47, right? There's Matthew Vaughn and Mark Millar's involved again. It's just sort of interesting the viability of these mid-level productions.
Yeah.
A movie like Wanted or a movie like Kingsman, that they're able to make the money they're able to make.
It's so crazy because when this movie, the sequel, comes out, it's going to be huge.
It's going to make a lot of money.
It's going to make a lot of money, and it's going to be, I guarantee you, it'll be much closer to like a 40 to 50% domestic. Or maybe like 40%.
Yeah, I mean, or it'll make like $700 million or something.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, would it surprise you that much?
No, because I want to go see it opening day. I want to go see it in the theaters.
Yeah, completely. I just hope they can find a way to get Colin Firth back.
So we have they need to. So we have a couple reviews here. And neither of them have any words that are going to make us sound like idiots, but we do have Tear Dad Darakashani.
You sound like an idiot.
Thank you. Who gave a rotten review. And this is one I kind of talked about earlier, is this film tries so hard to be clever, deconstructive meta-tale, forever winking at the audience about its silly story that it metas itself into insignificance.
Nice work, Tear Dad Darakashani.
Tear Dad Darakashani. I completely disagree.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean,
I agree with you and disagree.
Yeah. I mean, I get that it's meta and stuff. I mean, the one at the very end was a little when he's like, this isn't that kind of movie.
Yeah, right.
I mean, but when Samuel L. Jackson says it earlier and it kills Colin Firth, it's awesome.
Yeah, totally awesome.
It's totally, and like when they say it's not that type of movie, that's the best thing that you could say at that moment, because in any situation. I mean, they even break it down. Like, now, I'm going to tell you my elaborate plan. I feel an equally elaborate way for you to die, and you're going to escape. No, it's not that type of movie.
No.
Shoots him in the head, and that was just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That was my holy shit fist pump moment.
I kept every 5 minutes I would forget how awesome I thought Sam Jackson was in this movie, and then he would say another line, I'd start cracking up, and I'd be like, he's the best part of this movie.
He's so
good. He's the funniest part. He's like the most entertaining part of the whole movie.
Yeah.
All right, so
what you got Roper here?
Yeah, Richard Roper has the fresh review from Chicago Sun-Times. On day one of filming, they must have thrown away the moral compass and taken a group vow to splatter our sensibilities with stylish, gratuitous violence and one wait, what moment after another.
Yeah.
Totally true. Totally correct. That to me, that is like what this movie is. Especially like even when she's like, wait, if you save the world, we can do it in the asshole.
Yeah.
You're like what?
Sorry, love. Go save the world. Comes back. What's his name? Merlin. What's the code? 2625. Merlin, you're governor. He goes in. Oh, it's just perfect. Perfect ending.
Was it Eggsy? What are you getting champagne for? We've got plenty of champagne on the plane. And he's running back.
Yeah, he's sprinting back. I love it. One thing I want to say, so this reminded me, it says on day one of filming. On day one of filming this movie, they filmed that scene in the recruit hall where the water comes in.
Yeah.
So Matthew Vaughn yells action.
Right.
And I guess their computer decides to go rogue. And within like seconds, the room is filled with 20 feet of water.
Wow.
Everyone is stuck. Camera guys, computers, all the actors. Everyone is terrified for their lives. They're pulling people out. Like, this is like this could have been like the worst tragedy in movie history.
Kill all.
It was like 40 people in one take. But yeah, so I guess it was one of those things like the actors weren't acting. They were fucking terrified.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's cool though.
It's a good scene.
Yeah.
It's a good scene. All right, let's get into favorite line.
Wait.
Oh, no, one forget.
The ultimate action scene. We actually have one this week.
Oh, wow.
That was my fault. I deleted it from the... You guys can blame it on me.
Yeah.
I deleted it from the outline because we never do it.
I always do.
Thank you, Mark. But this movie has a true, real,
unparalleled ultimate action scene, and it's the church massacre. I suggest we cue it up. This was probably gonna be my fist pump moment, actually. Like originally, like I said, it's difficult. Oh, this is just some guy who made a. You can skip forward. Okay, some guy who made like a 20-second intro to his own illegal clip downloaded from the internet.
I made this. Not a big deal.
But I love the use of Freebird. Also,
yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's just great. It's just great.
It's so American too. Like, oh hey, we're in America, by the way.
Right. I also love Colin Firth's line before that. He's like, "Go home to my gay black boyfriend."
We're not at favorite lines yet.
It's not my favorite line.
Well, it might be somebody else's.
Oh.
I can't watch this. Violence making me thick. Projectile.
Oh, this is so sweet.
Yeah, it is awesome. Like this is one of those situations like the cruise fight from Last Samurai, where I wish I could see the B-cam footage of this.
Oh, absolutely.
It would probably look so slow though, because they probably are doing so much of it in slow motion.
Oh, totally. I'm sure this is all so slow. But what I love is, this has all been one take so far, right? And they probably cut right there.
Yeah.
What I love is that this proves that thing that we talk about when we're like trying to recast movies.
Yeah.
This dude trained for 6 months. He got in great shape. He did 80% of his own stunts. You can recast anyone to be an action hero.
Yeah. He kills every person in the church.
Every single person. I killed all those people.
I was a little confused while I was watching this. Like I have to say, the one confusing part is you don't know if he's being affected by the
same.
Or if he's just killing them all.
Yeah, I couldn't remember last night when I was watching it because I only seen this movie one other time. But then I like that they do tell you afterwards.
Yeah.
But in the moment, you're kind of like, what the hell, dude?
He's just the ultimate badass.
I love her.
Yeah, she's like
Not
top of the.
yet.
Yeah, my mom also loves her.
I probably love her for different reasons.
She's got fucking knives for feet.
Got knives for feet, man.
I love that. That's one of my favorites. He stabs the guy in the eye, goes and hits the other guy, goes back, takes the knife out of the guy's eye, then kills the other guy.
Top of the head.
Yeah.
And the little bits that you can kind of tell that it's slow motion just make it look like he's being that much more precise with every single action.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a cool scene.
It's so great, and,
All right.
and it's one of those you never want it to end.
No.
Ever.
Just like the solo from Freebird.
Yes. Don't ever sing Freebird at karaoke.
I've never seen someone do that. I've never seen somebody do Stairway at karaoke before.
Oh, it's just all
Have you
bad.
seen it?
Yeah, no, I've never.
Yeah.
I have seen Freebird before though. Just it was back in college.
I should be that guy that does Stairway at karaoke
should.
sometime.
I'm going with you. Too bad we know that you would have to do. Oh wait. What is it? What's the song you always do?
Oh, Faithfully?
Highway Road.
Yeah, My Journey? Yeah, that's my song.
That's my song. Please don't sing it on our show.
I've got a strong delivery of that film.
Also, I'd like to point out the amazing dummy that just got grenaded and thrown into the
Oh yeah,
top of the church.
Yeah. So good.
Appallingly violent film.
Appallingly violent, and I'm so glad that he doesn't. I love in secret agent movies when the guy doesn't get hurt
Yeah.
because
Of course.
he's a secret agent.
You mean like Mike Banning?
Like Banning.
I'm sorry, babe.
You're talking about Patty's party.
You were talking about Patty's party. I'm sorry, babe.
Oh, it never ends, and please don't ever end. And here we go. Thank you, Donica. That was wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
So good. And that guy, of course, he had the most gnarly.
And then the slow realization, I just killed all these
what?
people.
Because he just turned it off. He's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very good.
So good. One of the best action movie scenes we've seen in a while.
Yeah, pretty unreal how long it is too.
Yeah. I didn't even realize last night. I don't know, because if I was maybe a little inebriated, I don't know. I didn't realize that first part was one take either last night when I was watching it.
Yeah, it's super cool. All right, let's get into favorite line. Favorite line of the film.
Favorite line of the film. Favorite line of the film.
Motherfucker, let's get into our favorite line.
Is yours one of his lines?
Yeah.
Oh, do it, because I already know which one it is, and I was going to do it, and I love that line so much.
What's easy? It's like I wish I could remember the exact line. I know the gist of what he says, but he's like, "Are you kidding me? Motherfucker made me kill Professor Arnold. I goddamn love Professor Arnold.
Goddamn love Professor Arnold." Such a good line.
Fucking Valentine says it.
Oh,
that guy's hilarious.
great delivery.
There's also another line, actually, small one early I was just remembering that's hilarious with the 62 Dalmong.
Oh.
But he's like, "This whiskey, trust me, you'll shit."
Yeah, you'll shit. So mine it's a serious line, which we don't do that often. But I really loved it, and it's there's nothing noble in being superior to your fellow man. True nobility is being superior to your former self. And you don't get a lot of movies that give you quotes that you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, that's amazing. Especially this type of movie. They attribute it to Hemingway, which is, that's not true.
Right.
It's actually, it comes from a book written in 1898, which was most likely, it just had an old Indian proverb, which was that. I just wanted you guys to know because I felt like I was a little misled, but I love that quote. I think it's great. And it's just, yeah, it's real. We're going to get into our movie ranking. Our hero and villain. Anyone?
So Valentine is close for me because I think he's so entertaining. Like, I really like Valentine, but I don't think he's not a good villain. He's just funny comic relief.
Yeah, he's just enjoyable.
He's a good character. But I think, and then Firth isn't really the hero, unfortunately.
I know. You want to put him, I feel like you want to put him on. I mean, you could.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the Samuel Gerard effect.
Yeah.
I like Firth a lot. We can always update these later. So it's like, if thinking about it later, I look at my list and I'm just like, you know what? Firth in this movie is sweet enough that he should be top 50. Maybe I'll throw him on later. But for now, it just feels like nobody quite makes it.
I feel like that actually would probably happen. I feel like Firth will get put on my list or your list soon.
Eventually.
Eggsy, I think maybe Kingsman 2, he'll make my list.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's close.
So with our movies, though, I actually have mine a bit ahead of yours. I didn't realize how much I actually love this movie.
Wow, you put this ahead of MI3?
I did. I know.
What?
I know. I put it ahead of MI3.
You put this ahead of The Fugitive?
And Rocky IV.
The Fugitive, Con Air. I love Con Air. Predator.
Crazy. Wow.
I know, but
Amazing.
I love this movie, man. It's so good. I put it at 15. It's way higher than I thought it would have been. But after watching it last night, when I feel that happy after watching a movie,
Yeah.
it's hard to find that.
It's funny, we already did our re-rank recently, and it's I think about this movie versus Looper. I like Looper a lot. I think this movie's cooler than Looper, yet I don't think I like it more than Looper, or I don't think it's a better movie than
right.
Looper. So it's like I have to keep Looper higher. That's what I was sort of looking at Con Air and Rocky IV. It's like those are both super entertaining movies. But they're also just slightly more iconic for me, which is why I have them just slightly ahead.
I know. I can't believe that it passed Con Air and Rocky IV for me.
Whereas Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, I love, but this is a better movie than Taking a Pelham.
If this movie was behind Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, I would have quit the show.
Like and John Wick and Taken, those are awesome, but they haven't quite like reached that point for me where they're like
Right.
they're like classic. They're classics in their own right. But this movie is just so awesome. It does so much. Do you notice that Kill Bill is significant? Is below Olympus Has Fallen?
Wow, I did not, and I even made the graphic today. I didn't even note it. Really, Kill Bill is below Olympus Has Fallen. Amazing.
It's a quality film. It's a quality film. Pity. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's the ranking. So that's where we put the films. Obviously, guys, any of your own favorite lines, your own rankings, let us know. I know Hearst, one or two of our fans have done the full list, full ranking.
Which also Hearst, by the way, I don't specifically talk to one fan on the whole show. He rewatches Man on Fire.
Yeah.
And doesn't move it.
Yeah,
it's
can't
like
believe
35th or something. Come on, man.
Come on.
Have a heart. Come on.
Toe the damn towel.
Toe the damn towel.
Anyway, so let's talk about recast.
Okay.
So I do want to just point out really quickly for any of you guys that are watching this movie that have watched some from the very beginning, we've done like 40 plus recasts.
This
now.
is our 43rd recast, I believe.
So what's happening, I'm noticing, is that I feel like we're getting a little stale with it, just because it's retreads. It's a lot of the same
We
sensibilities.
do use a lot of the same actors a lot.
I mean, there's just only so many.
This week is a weird one because I actually didn't really use people I've used before, but I do agree with what you're saying.
So we're sort of toying with some ideas of like how we can change the segment or like mix up the segment, make it a little different. If any of you who are watching this or listening to this and you have watched the show from the beginning, you love it, or you have a way to like an idea to maybe update it, throw it at us. Just let us know.
Please, yeah.
At AMA Podcast, tweet at us. If you need more than 140 characters, leave it in the comments on the episode. Just give us ideas. We might just adopt it because
Just send me a private tweet. I'll give you Ben's address. You can send him a letter.
we're not gonna like abandon it. We'll do recasts. It's just that we want to find a way to keep making it interesting.
Right, and you guys are you're our bread and butter, man. You guys are what makes this show happen. So if you have a new idea or something that we haven't thought of,
Right.
let's do it. Like, that'd be awesome.
Totally. So, as per usual, vote for who you think has the better recast. Use the hashtag MasterRecaster. We are going to start with Michael Caine's character, starting with Andrew Ghai.
I did Mr. Anthony Hopkins.
That's good. Like, what year are you thinking?
He's looked like he's like 90 since he was 50.
Hannibal Lecter?
Yeah. I'm thinking like Mask of Zorro time.
You're thinking like Hearts in Atlantis Instinct time? Yeah.
Hearts in Atlantis. Really? That's a good one. 'Cause I haven't heard that movie talked about ever.
The Edge. I love Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mask of Zorro time.
Okay, great. I decided to go Peter O'Toole.
From Troy. You saw Troy so recently. You're just like, yeah.
He's just classic. Peter O'Toole is just great. I think Peter O'Toole could play a strong Michael Caine. Make him a little bit less like full of makeup and eyeliner and flowing silver hair. But he's a great actor. I mean,
Love the eyeliner.
Obviously, Peter O'Toole is passed on, so this would have been in the 90s. But yeah, I think Peter O'Toole would have been a strong choice.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Did we say that we're doing 80s and 90s? Did we say that?
I don't know if we did.
Yet, no.
Okay, yeah. These are 80s and 90s actors, if you couldn't tell. Who do you got, Donica?
If we're doing a flashback to the Spy era, why not Mr. Sean Connery?
Oh, yeah. That's a good
super
one.
strong. 90s Sean Connery.
Bad guy.
The Rock.
Flip-flop.
The Rock is a tourist attraction.
I'm just borrowing your Humvee.
Yeah. Oh, man, it's counting down. That one's coming up soon. We got another mom laugh.
Another mom laugh. Yes. So who do you have for Mr. Merlin, Mr. Mark Strong?
I went with Sean Bean.
Sean Bean.
For England, James.
For England, James.
For England, Alec. Is that line as memorable from the movie itself, or is that line so memorable from the scene in the video game when that's the text that reads, For England, James, for England, Alec?
I don't know. I mean, I love the part in the right around the beginning when he says, or at the end when he's like, "It was not God that gave me this face.
Right,
It was you." So the timing was for 3 minutes instead of 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
I love that line.
We should probably do GoldenEye sometime.
Oh, we have to, man. It's just such a class. Even though the movie's not very good anymore,
It's just like, but it's just GoldenEye.
such a classic.
I feel like we could totally get away with it, like probably like nearing the release of the next James Bond, whenever that is. I guess it's gonna be a while because
Yeah,
Spectre just
Spectre
came
was
out.
garbage, man.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I was talking to a few people about it again the other day, and they were all on the same page.
Yeah, the
It's a
beginning was
letdown.
awesome. That first scene was sweet.
Like half of it,
Yeah.
and then it felt like
Yeah.
gimmicky again.
Dumb. Yeah.
We have for Samuel.
Wait, what about you, Sean Bean? What did you?
Oh, I didn't say mine. I'm sorry. Russell Crowe.
Okay.
Late '90s Russell Crowe.
LA Confidential Russell Crowe.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, a little later though.
I like that.
Yeah.
But Samuel L. Jackson. I went with Billy D. Williams. Lando Calrissian. Billy D.
I like that.
Now what have we here?
That's a good one.
I like him.
And we've never used Billy D.
Because he's the mayor in Batman Returns, I think. Or maybe
Yeah.
he's Batman. I think it's Batman Returns.
He's Harvey Dent.
He's Harvey
Dent.
Dent.
He's
That's
not
what
the
it is.
mayor.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I love Billy D. Williams, and I think he would be just fine. I think he would be a little less silly than Valentine, but I like him, so that's what I'm going to go with.
All right, I like that. I went with. This is so weird, but I went with Jim Carrey.
What?
Yeah.
Did you notice the difference in color of skin?
Does it matter?
It doesn't.
It doesn't matter in this movie.
No, it doesn't.
We've talked about that.
Makes no difference.
I think that if you would have like reeled in the Riddler a
Yeah.
little bit, Jim Carrey would have been so awesome in this role. And as you said, Jackson's the comic relief of the whole film.
It's true, yeah.
And this is in like '90s Carrey is peak Carrey.
That's true. I don't know that Billy D would have been able to like bring comedy to the role. Do you know what movie I've never seen before?
Huh.
Me, Myself, and Irene.
Really?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
There's
own
an
it.
explosion in that.
There is. I love that movie.
I've seen
dude.
like all. I think I've seen all the other classic.
I think
Carrey.
that's in the same realm as like Dumb and Dumber. I mean, not quite in the same realm
Yeah.
as Dumb and Dumber and the first Ace Ventura, but like it's in the same one as like The Mask.
Okay, yeah. Mask is sweet.
It's sweet.
Yeah, Mask is great.
I got one for this one.
Okay, who you got?
Danny Glover.
Gloves. I love the gloves.
90s Danny Glover.
That's a good one.
Just can't handle anybody's shit. Totally in for this.
Is she gonna die? She's gonna die my way. So good. You know what, Hurst? Calm down. We're not even done with the recast. You can't just give it to Ben because you use Lando. Okay. I don't enjoy this. All right. So for little Mr. Egerton, I went with the same type of person in their career.
Okay.
Which is an undiscovered Tom Hardy.
What year?
95. 97. He'd be 20 years old.
Okay, like because I think the Star Trek movie that he has a part in is
His first film credit ever is in like 2000. I looked it up.
I think it's like it's from around there, or it's maybe like 2 years later. It's Star Trek Insurrection or
Yeah, he's in one of those. He's also in
It
like
was
a
Nemesis.
Nemesis. Yeah. But like 97, 98, 99 Tom Hardy. Undiscovered,
Okay,
British,
fair,
rough around the edges,
Yeah,
and I just love him.
yeah. I mean, who doesn't love Tom Hardy? I mean, who doesn't love Tom
I
Hardy?
love Tom Hardy.
Don't say the line. I know you're tempted.
Won't do it. Let it go.
I went with undiscovered also. Edward Norton, pre-Primal Fear.
So if I actually wrote him down and then I got rid of it.
Yeah, I decided like thinking about like 96 when he had that breakout role. He's young, he's like sort of impressionable. I don't know that if we didn't know, I know he's so talented that if we didn't know that he couldn't do a British accent, if he just came on the scene doing British,
perfect.
I wonder if we'd just believe him 100%.
Dude, when he plays the mentally handicapped
In the
alter
score?
ego in the score,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. The first one's tough because we both had the same person originally.
Did you just say the first one's tough?
The first one.
I think you did. I think you
It's
just
Firth. His name is Firth.
I the first one. I thought that's what you were
It
saying.
wasn't a Sam Jackson
That's
reference.
just a list.
The first one. I like how we're just being the ladies' man.
Yeah.
That's like we're not even
just
doing
doing
Samuel
Tim
L. Jackson.
Meadows.
We're just doing Tim Meadows.
Yeah.
So we both had the same person, and the reason I switched mine was because I don't think it's the same suit that Colin Firth is. Like Colin Firth went from being Academy Award winner, Bridget Jones' Diary, to an action hero in this movie.
Yeah.
Whereas the person that we both had was already doing that at the time.
Right.
But I already saw his name come up in the chat, so you can just say it.
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
Of course. It's the perfect cast for this role, but the problem is that he's already Bond.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen him do it.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is that even if he had done one Bond movie and then they had made this movie and he had like essentially done this role, I still think it would have been fine because like his Bond and like James Bond in general is so not violent in the way that Firth is violent. Like this character is so violent that it's like Brosnan. He could have pulled it off.
Right.
With that hair.
Oh, totally. His hair's incredible.
I like that his hair is just like a very normal haircut, but like when I imagine it, I picture
It's
this
like 7 feet.
this wide mane, this cone of wavy, like dark. Yeah,
Dude, that's the N64 effect for you.
yeah.
Oh, is that you? Donica, you're on chat. Donica did Christian Bale for Eggsy. That's good.
Dude, back early 90s.
Yeah, like Newsies.
Dude,
Yeah, and you know he's
Ghai,
got
you're
the
with me.
accent. That's good. That's very good. But it's not as good as my Firth recast, which is Hugh Grant. It's perfect.
I mean, that's good.
It's perfect because it's Colin Firth.
Wasn't he in the King's Speech? Wasn't he in?
Wasn't that him in King's Speech? It's because it's the same thing that happened with this movie. I saw Colin Firth in an action movie. I was like, what?
Yeah.
He's the lead in an action movie? If you put Hugh Grant as a lead in an action movie, I'd be just as appalled.
What the hell happened to Hugh Grant?
Didn't he have sex with a bunch of strippers or hookers and he was
recovered from
rude?
that.
And, he did?
Where
Yeah.
is he though? I haven't seen Hugh Grant in something in a long time, right?
I think 3-4 years ago he did something.
Okay.
It was like American Idol type of thing where he was the.
Oh,
Yeah.
like the rock band, a Rock of Ages type movie.
It feels like we're getting ready for a billboard to pop up on Sunset Boulevard. That's some new CBS show starring Hugh Grant called like Grandfathered. Oh, that happened. And it wasn't him.
Grandfather.
Yeah, Grandfathered or something like some like sitcom with Hugh Grant as the
the dad.
or maybe he'll turn. Maybe he'll decide he's like the gay lawyer who's in the closet and he's
maybe
married
he'll
or
do
something.
Kingsman too.
It'd be funny.
Or they should put him in like a Tarantino movie as a bad guy. Flip the whole thing
He
around.
was a good actor.
I know, he wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Notting Hill was great.
I got a hairy heart for you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Who's that?
Alan goddamn Rickman.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
Give you the FBI.
Yeah, that's true. He would have been amazing.
Yeah.
He would have been incredible.
And again, it's one of those things where the first thing that I thought when you said that was like, yeah, Rickman couldn't pull that off. He could have. He could do
Absolutely.
6 months of training. He
Yeah.
could do it. All right. I like it. I like our
Yeah.
recast this
It's
week.
good.
It was good.
It's fun. Hashtag Master Recaster. Let us know who you think won. Find us on Twitter at MA Podcast. There are 3 action movie categories. They are totally ridiculous. This is movies like Face Off and Con Air that just fall off a cliff of total absurdity. Movies like totally legitimate, which is movies like Terminator 2 or The Fugitive.
Yeah.
And lastly, we have ridiculously legitimate, which is the middle category, movies that are kind of silly but extremely compelling the whole time. You laugh unintentionally at times, but you're engaged, and you kind of consider it to be a classic in some regards. This is a really hard one.
It is.
That's movies like The Rock and Point Break, for the record.
Because it toes that top tier line.
I have to just give it. I think it's ridiculously legitimate. Part of me wants to call it totally ridiculous, and then part of me wants to call it totally legitimate.
Okay, all right.
I can't really decide. I don't know.
Okay, you think.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it as ridiculously legitimate.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it's so aware of itself. It hits the jokes when it wants to. But doesn't that make it totally legit, though, when it does that?
That's what I was thinking. That's
Yeah.
why I'm saying I kind of want to do all of those things.
Right. And, like, even with the heads exploding and it being all, like, rainbowy,
Right.
they do show the very last head exploding, like, in slow motion. You can see how gnarly it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was so important for them to put it in there, just so you could see it once. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
one time to see how gnarly it was, because you don't want to see that 100 times. Once you see it the one time, you're like, oh, okay, I actually like that they did.
Yeah.
And it was
little.
to the prick who turned in the Swedish princess.
Yeah, exactly. That guy was such an asshole. Oh my God, is this movie totally legit for me?
I'm
doing it.
Totally legit?
It's totally legit for me.
I think it's ridiculously legit for me.
Yeah.
Because it's so meta that it's like it loses me at times, but like it's right on the edge.
Yeah.
It's right on the edge. I could see calling it totally legitimate, but I think I would have to explain that to every single person
Totally.
ever.
Yeah.
And the fact that I would have to explain that means that it's perceived by most not that way.
Yeah, and it's also, exactly. And it's also in the realms of doing our show.
Yeah.
And like legit. Okay, it's been a while since we've disagreed on one, but I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. So, guys, we have an interesting next section, and this is a section that you're all used to. A section we like to call The Pitch. Bow. And it's really, really well
good.
timed.
We're doing this
Yeah,
really good.
it was good.
We actually just practiced that all week.
It's like, surprise, go! No.
Go into space.
So, guys, we have the film London Has Fallen on our minds because we saw it at a press screening last night, and we want to do it. It comes out this weekend. I know that we're going to do London Has Fallen. The question is this. We are going to do London Has Fallen either this next week or the following week. Mm-hmm. So, in honor of the fact that we have the flexibility of 1 week, we're going to each choose a movie right now, a retread, a movie we've already pitched that has lost to just getting shit on. and we're each gonna pitch a movie that is not London Has Fallen.
Okay. I'm excited for my pitch.
And then we're going to talk about London Has Fallen for a brief second. And you guys have to go and find us on Twitter if you want to vote at AMA Podcast to let us know if you want to see London Has Fallen next week or the winner of one of these movies. So we'll put 3 options up.
Which last week we got like 100 votes.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
People
so
care.
awesome.
People care.
They do.
I think we'll put up all 3, right?
Yeah, we should definitely put up all 3. And then
Actually,
know
no,
what?
we'll put up, what we'll do is we'll put up
4?
Well, I was going to say London Has Fallen next week or London Has Fallen the week after will each be their own.
Why don't we do 3? And then whatever movies get second and third place are their next respective weeks, so we can cover all 3 movies we're talking about.
Okay, that's
do
fair.
that? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you go first.
Yes, I'm going to do a little movie I like to call The Fucking Edge.
The Edge,
okay?
clearly.
I've talked about this movie a lot, and I really want to do it on the show. The Edge, 1997, directed by David Mamet, the writer-director of Glengarry Glen Ross. One of the all-time great crime drama writers and directors. This movie is about Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin getting stuck on an island and having to survive in the wild.
Getting raped by a bear.
Getting chased by a killer grizzly bear. Alec Baldwin, a brilliant billionaire with no real-world experience. All of his knowledge surviving in the wild comes from books.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, I do this every time. And then on the other side, Alec Baldwin, this privileged photographer who's secretly boning Anthony Hopkins' wife. And he's like, he knows that he wants to kill him, and there's tension with the bear, there's tension with the two of them. It's just amazing. One of my favorite movies, and I have wanted to do it on the show forever. It's from 1997. You guys need to vote on this. The Edge, that's the one.
I'm not sure why he wrote, well, Bateman is out, but that's the only thing anyone wrote in chat when you're done with that. Well, Bateman's done. Hey guys, it's me, Andrew, the host of this show. Remember a little movie that I've pitched like 5 fucking times? It's called Under Siege. It's Under Siege. Steven Seagal, Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Busey. I bought a 2-pack for $5, Under Siege 1 and 2 from 7-Eleven a week or 2 weeks ago, thinking that this was a sign from God that it was going to get picked, and it didn't. Once again, I pitched this movie 3 times. It is awesome. So on my own, I've just been watching Under Siege at home. I've watched it twice in the last week. It's good. Guys, it's a good movie. Let me do it on the show, okay? That's it.
Yeah, if Andrew made you guys uncomfortable, if you're feeling on the edge, go find us on AMA Podcast and vote.
If Ben puts you a little under siege fuck.
Wasn't nearly as obvious or easy. I kind of walked right into that one. It
was good.
The last one is London Has Fallen, a movie that is awesome, and we are definitely going to do. You guys should see it in theaters, and if you need the extra week, you can vote for one of these other films, namely The Edge, and we will do London Has Fallen eventually on the show. I know we're going to end up doing both of those movies. I don't know that we'll necessarily do them in the subsequent weeks, but probably.
Okay, all right, we'll figure it out.
But we can figure it out.
If The Edge loses, I mean, if Under Siege does number 3, we're doing them in subsequent weeks, okay?
That's just what's going to happen. But let us know what you think. Find us, vote on it. And other than that, that's our show.
That's it today.
That's the show.
Good time.
So thank you to my mother for enjoying and laughing. She's clapping now.
Thanks,
Golf
Terry.
clap. And find us next week, same time, same place for the film you guys vote on. Once again, I'm your host, Ben Bateman. You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media on Twitter and Instagram.
I am his trusty co-host, Andrew Ghai. You can find me at Andrew Ghai on Twitter.
See you guys next week.
Take care.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.